Hello and welcome to the Crypto Sky podcast. Today we have another awesome episode. I recently conducted an interview with Shill Nye, the Lambo guy, on Twitter. For those of you who are not familiar with him, he's a crypto trader who has been putting out a ton of excellent crypto content as of late. He currently writes on Medium, co-hosts a podcast, and has recently began making YouTube videos. We covered his personal trading strategy and how he practices risk management, but at the same time looks for high reward setups. We also talk about some of his content on Medium, including some of the mistakes beginners make when starting to trade crypto. Shill Nye was at Consensus New York during the interview, and I really appreciate him taking time out of his busy day to record the episode. As always, if you would like to support the podcast, you can share it out on social media, and if you are listening via iTunes, please remember to subscribe and leave a review. Without any farther ado, let's get into the interview. All right, Shill Nye, I want to thank you and welcome you to the Crypto Sky podcast.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Shill Nye.
All right, so to start things off, just kind of touch on how you got into crypto and then what your background was beforehand.
Totally. So I first started in crypto in 2013, 2014 time frame. Super basic, nothing big at all back then. I'd heard about crypto and Bitcoin. I don't even remember how I heard about it, to be honest with you, but I was making mobile apps at the time, so I was running a company pretty much that built mobile apps and cranked them out and put them on the App Store. And we were in the process of building a Bitcoin app for pricing and pretty much a price update Bitcoin app. And Bitcoin was pretty much one of the only currencies back then. So back in 2013 was the first time I got into it. I bought some Litecoin back then, threw it on a hard drive. Lost the hard drive. I have no idea where it is, but then I got back into it and went full time in 2017 when I kind of noticed that the trend was really starting to pick up and people were really, really getting into it. And that's kind of my background on it.
All right, so you mentioned you're full time now. Kind of talk about what the transition was like from going from a job to full time crypto.
That's a good question. So I've always been kind of an entrepreneur. I've had app companies in the past and wrote a couple best-selling books and things like that while I was traveling the world. But back in 2017, I was actually working some day jobs and working in kitchens as well as some mechanic shops, just learning some extra skills and things like that. So the transition was it was good. It was healthy. It was good for me to get back into something that I really like doing, and I can really learn a lot about a specific space in a short period of time. And it was healthy. It was a little bit challenging, of being pressured with finances and needing to make financial decisions based off of a market and market cycles. But once I got my feet on the ground, it was solid. And has been solid ever since.
Yeah, you mentioned you traveled the world some. What were a couple of the cool places you went to?
India was my favorite. I loved India. I lived in India for like 4 months or something like that. Costa Rica is beautiful. I lived there for a while. Thailand is pretty cool. I just visited Thailand, but it's a cool place. Those are like my top 3.
Okay. So how did you come up with the name Shill Nye, and then how long have you had your Twitter and been pumping out content?
I actually didn't come up with the name Shill Nye, surprisingly.
Okay. That's
like the one unoriginal thing that is my whole profile. But I trade with a bunch of really cool guys. We all kind of chat about coins, about ICOs, and kind of just share our thoughts on them. And one day we were just fucking around in the chat and talking about how there's all of these wills, like Will Ferrell and things like that we could just change and make crypto profiles called Shill Ferrell and things like that. And one of my buddies said Bill Nye. And I was like, dude, can I please use that? Like, are you going to use it? He's like, I'm not going to use it, man. You go for it. And this was only like maybe three. What month are we? We're in May. Yeah, this was probably only like 3 months ago, to be honest with you. Maybe 3.5 months ago now. It was like very early this year, and I had already had a Twitter profile for a while before that, so I just rebranded my Twitter profile into Shill Nye, and I only had like 200 followers or something like that. But I rebranded it, put it into Shill Nye, and ever since then, I just started to crank out content. So probably like 2 or 3 months have been like full blown cranking out content, like you see on my Twitter right now.
Okay. It's funny. I personally love the name. I think really the profile picture with the face tattoo kind of brings it together.
Oh, totally, totally. That's one of my favorite things about it is like the face tattoo. That was just all my creativity with it, just fucking around, having a fun time. And then my graphic designer got in there, and as you see, the new profile picture is just outstanding.
Yeah, definitely. So, what's a day like for you right now?
Wake up, turn over to my phone, get back on Twitter, start answering everybody via Twitter messages, DMs, tweets, things like that. Get up usually. I mean, right now I'm in New York, so it's a little different. But my normal day is like I get up and do all that stuff. Go through my morning routines, make sure I'm getting some good stuff in my body, eating healthy, taking care of my body, doing some meditation, getting into a good place of focus. Going on a walk. I'm really a big proponent on staying healthy. So I usually go on about a 2 or 3 mile walk in the mornings while I'm tweeting and stuff like that. And then it's computer for most of the day, man. I'm on the computer writing content, making videos. I've got a backlog of a ton of videos ready to go, articles ready to go, things like that. As well as just communicating with the community, and learning about new ICOs, talking with ICO founders about um, allocations and about their projects and things like that. And yeah, I'm pretty much online 24/7 until or like at least 17, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week until I get back to my bed and go to sleep.
All right, man. So, kind of go in depth of what your personal learning process was like with crypto.
Good question. It involved getting scammed in the beginning. I
Okay.
got caught in a pump and dump, lost 70% of my portfolio the first month I was back in crypto. Just in one day, 70% of my portfolio is gone in the matter of 3 or 5 minutes. I was just chasing pump and dumps. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just kind of out there. Just acting like an idiot, just trying to become a millionaire tomorrow. I had no patience at all. Something I really had to develop and still am developing to this day. And then the next week, right after I lost 70% of my portfolio, I put the last 30% into a scam ICO, and the ICO ran with all my money that week. So yeah, it was a quick learning curve, and this was literally like the first month I got back into crypto or something like that. First couple of weeks that I got back into crypto. So yeah, it was a quick learning curve. I got hit really hard. Literally, that was almost all the money that I had to my name at that time as well. So I got hit pretty hard. Took it as a learning experience. Put pretty much. I don't ever advise anybody to do this. I was in a unique financial situation where I'm a young person. I don't have many financial responsibilities, such as a family or things like that. So I never advise people to play very risky if you have such responsibilities. But I was able to put pretty much almost the rest of my money back into crypto and build a whole different strategy from it. So instead of going in and pump and dumps and things like that, I told myself, I'm going to build a strategy. I'm going to take a different angle of attack at this crypto game, and I think I can succeed with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, what were a couple of resources that really helped you out, and then who were some people that really influenced you?
Good question. The people that influence me like a lot are the people that I trade with. I started off with a group of guys that I trade with. I still trade with some of them. Some of them are in a new group that I trade with, and just some good guys that we don't like tell each other what to buy. We don't tell each other this and that. What we do is we literally just say, "Hey, I'm buying this. This is why I'm buying it," and we ask each other questions about it. It's a really just open format where we all like. It's no calls, it's no signals, it's no targets, nothing like that. We all just say, "Hey, I'm purchasing this. There's this event coming up, and that's why I'm purchasing it. Or I plan to hold this for the long term. Here's why. Or I'm looking at this ICO. Here's why." And anyways, yeah, that's one of the best things is the people in the space. It's really not super hard to find a good group of people to communicate with, to ask questions, to bounce ideas off of, and that's honestly been the most useful resource and the best help for people or for me. As well as there's some amazing people on Twitter. Yeah. I think you got to be very careful there who just kind of do paid shills and there's some scam artists as well. So I don't ever recommend people send their money to anyone or just blindly listen to people, even me. Crypto Cred has a great YouTube page about technical analysis with tons and tons and hours of lessons on it, all for free. And there's some other amazing people in the space who are just creating content for free for beginners to mitigate their losses and hopefully excel their learning curve.
Yeah, definitely. So I was reading some of your content on Medium, and you have an article titled "Avoiding the 4 Worst Mistakes a Beginner Can Make." What are those mistakes? And then kind of go in depth to those.
Patience is definitely one of the biggest things for me. I think that if you don't learn patience, and this goes beyond just crypto. This goes into life. If you don't learn how to actually be patient and how to actually pace yourself, you're going to get caught and you're going to lose. In the whole game of life in general. So patience is key. You got to wait for things to come to you. You got to make sure that that you're taking action on the things that do come to you, but you also got to be patient. And so, for example, I always say let the trade come to you, because too many people are out there chasing pumps and getting wrecked. So I just pulled it up. FOMO is one of them. Yeah, obviously FOMO. Don't get caught in the fear. Fear is a killer. People mistake fear for their emotions, but fear is really just I guess you could say fear is an energy that causes people to make rash decisions and not have clarity around their decision making. So most people in crypto are caught up in FOMO. That's why they lose a lot of money, or that's why they don't make a lot of money and they just stay at the same values that they had. So don't get caught to the FOMO. Don't move in and out of pumps. Don't try to chase pumps, things like that. It's really fucking stupid. Don't do it. Going all in. Don't go all in on a coin. I know I just said that I pretty much put all my money back into crypto when I had lost it all. And that was a really, really, really risky thing. I don't ever recommend anyone do it. I don't ever recommend anyone follow that advice. I was in a specific life situation that's unique to me that allowed me to do something like that, and that put me in a position, it put me in a corner to make that decision. So I don't recommend anyone do that ever. Don't go all in. Make sure that you've got positions in different coins, in short-term holds, in long-term holds, and build a strategy. And that's the third thing is most people in crypto don't have a strategy. At least most people I talk to. They're always asking me if it's a good time to enter a coin or a good time to exit a coin, and I always say you got to it depends upon your strategy, because if you don't know why you're buying a coin, if you don't know when you're going to exit the coin, if you don't know what you're going to do if that coin doesn't do what you predicted it to do, and where you're going to cut your losses, then you're always going to be relying on someone else, and you're always going to be relying on someone else's decision making for you, which will never work in crypto, and it will never work in life. You'll always get wrecked, and you'll always be at the very, very bottom of the chain. I mean, most people don't realize this, but Twitter people aren't going to be around forever. You know, like there's like eventually. I'm sure I'll fucking keep working, and I'm always going to be on Twitter, like tweeting stuff. But eventually, like, there's going to come to a point where people aren't going to answer win moon, or is it a good entry, or what's your target. People just aren't going to answer that stuff. So just, you got to learn to build a strategy. You got to learn what it means to build a strategy, and yeah. And the last thing is taking profits. You know, so many people don't take profits. So many people just see the hype. They're up 200, 300%, and they think that it's going to go 10x, so they don't take profits, and then it goes back down, and it's back to their entry. You got to take profits. I recommend taking profits on the way up. You don't got to sell your whole bag to take 10%, 20%, whatever is comfortable for you. Reinvest it somewhere else in something that hasn't moved, or do something like that. But yeah, always take profits on the way up. Don't get caught taking them on the way down. And don't try to catch the very top, because you'll never catch the very top.
So, kind of touch on your personal strategy. Do you tend to invest more or make more short-term trades?
I would say, I mean, my strategy is like short to midterm. My long term, I play long term plays, but my long term is not like other people's long term, where it's like 2 or 3 years. Like, my strategy is completely based around playing market cycles. If anyone doesn't know what a market cycle and you're listening to this, like, go to Google right now and search market cycles. There's a great article on investopedia.com about market cycles. It's the most important thing you can learn. I play market cycles. I try to take everything out at the end of a bull trend and get a bunch back in at the beginning of the next or at the bottom of the next bear trend. That's just the way I see it. I think there's it's kind of like margin trading, only on a bigger scale. And I think if you're not doing like something like that, or if at least you're not taking profits into fiat, then you either didn't go through the last bear market for the last 4 months, or it just didn't hit you hard enough. I think you gotta realize, like, bear markets can be killer, and you don't want to have to sit through that.
So, and this is something, you touched on in your article, but what are some steps that a new trader can take to really develop their own strategy?
Good question. Building a strategy well, first you have to have self-awareness. You got to realize why you're in this thing. Like, are you in it to just have a couple $100 in and see if it goes to a couple thousand in a period of time? And if you are, you don't really need a strategy. You just buy fucking Ethereum or Litecoin or some shit and just let it sit and wait. Are you in it for and yeah, like, you gotta build a strategy based on your life circumstances, and that takes self-awareness. So depending upon where you are in your life is how risk averse you should be, right? So if you have a kid or a couple kids and a wife, and you're at home taking care of them and shit like that, you don't go all in on crypto. Like, just don't. That's dumb. It's the same thing as gambling. Just don't do it. You wouldn't go to the casino and put everything you own on black on the roulette table. It's very similar to the same concept. But if you are 27, 28, you have backup funds, or you have a job, and you've got a little bit more financial security with less responsibility, you have the ability to play riskier if you want to. It all depends upon your ability to be risk averse. I've met a couple 25, 27-year-olds who don't even want to put in a large amount into crypto because they're just not risk averse, even though their life circumstances allow them to be. For me, I'm risk averse. I like to play risky. I thrive under the pressure. I'm really good at it, and I know that because I know myself and I have self awareness. And I don't ever suggest that anyone follow the decisions that I make because I have a little bit. I have less responsibility and I have a high level of self awareness in order to make the decisions that I make. So first part of building a strategy is understanding where you are in life, yeah, you got to build off of that. And once you can build off of that, you can determine whether you want to put in X amount of dollars into crypto, X percentage of your net worth into crypto, and then you can determine whether you want to do buy more coins and put less percentage into each coin, or buy a couple coins that you really believe in, and let those ride out with a higher percentage of your portfolio in each coin.
Yeah, so do you prefer to invest in smaller cap coins or larger cap coins?
Man, I'm a small cap guy. I like low cap coins, just because there's a lot of undervalued projects. I know undervalued is a huge buzzword, but there's a lot of really cool projects going on in the space, in the crypto space, that have low caps and that are just don't have a lot of attention. But I believe that they will be the projects that everybody is gonna be buying on Binance in 6 months or 8 months or whatever it takes to get there. So I like investing in low caps that have really good potential. I'm not really a big fan of investing in like low or micro cap coins that are just random shit coins that aren't going to do anything, or that may do something. I like to, if I invest in a low cap coin, I really have to believe in it. I really have to believe in not just the model of it, but the fact that it can gain attention, and the fact that people will start to really look into it. That's kind of my strategy behind it.
Okay, so you said you're a small cap, low cap guy. What is your process like for actually finding new gems?
Good question. A lot of it just has to do with people. Like, a lot of people bring things to me. A lot of people bring coins to me, or I find them on Twitter. There's a lot of people talking on Twitter all the time about new coins, and their potential. But also, really, IDEX is a great place. Every time a new coin gets listed on IDEX, I usually look at it. I usually check it out, see what's going on, see if it has a low market cap, see if it has a lot of competitors in the space, see if it has potential to actually grow, see if it has a working product. All of those kind of things are things I look at in coins, in terms of making a decision of a coin.
So when you're looking at these coins and you're trading and investing in them, are you relying more on the fundamentals, or are you also looking at TA as well?
I'm a mostly fundamentals guy. I'm fundamentals and sentiment. So I like to analyze the sentiment of the market via Twitter and other media sources. See what people are talking about. If people are talking about a coin a lot, or if they're saying good things about it, then that's usually a good signal. Sentiment is probably the thing I weigh on even more than fundamentals and even more than TA. It's probably the most underrated thing that people talk about. I think people talk about TA and sentiment a lot, but I look at it as the fact is, there is the majority of coins move based upon hype. If there's tons and tons and tons of good projects that just don't move because no one has attention on them and there's no eyes on them. So the majority of all of the big 100%, 5x, 10x gainers are based upon hype, 100%. And so yeah, I like to really analyze the sentiment of the market. That's really my focus, and I'm really interested in human psychology. So it's kind of being able to watch human psychology play out.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So do you think a person new to the space should really try to invest and focus more on fundamentals, or do you think they should try to learn TA and try to trade?
I think it's good to do both. I think it's super important to do TA. I'm not against TA. I don't believe that TA is the overruling factor of everything, but I know like a basic amount of TA where I can look at a chart and say whether it's a good buy or a good sell. Like I can catch that shit, and I know that. I don't know all the lines and all the Fibonacci sequences and things like that. It's something I'm interested in learning, but just haven't gotten to that point yet. But I think it's really important like the first step is for someone to be able to look at a chart and know whether it's a good place to buy or whether it's a good place to sell. It's crucial. So a very at least a very basic understanding of technical analysis is important. Sentiment analysis or fundamental analysis is also important. Understanding like why especially if you're playing a long-term game, understanding why the product will be successful, understanding why the market actually needs the project, things like that. I've kind of picked up that just because I'm an entrepreneur and I can kind of see these things just naturally. But other people need to pick it up and look at it from the perspective of whether it's actually going to be a major player in the game in 3 to 5 years, if that's what people look at. And then obviously I really recommend sentiment analysis. If you're not on Twitter, even if you have a shit account and you don't have a ton of followers, it doesn't matter. Like being able to follow X amount of people who have influence in the space, see what they're talking about, and realize whether they're talking about it because it's actually a good project or they're talking about it for other reasons. It's super important. Super important.
Yeah, so you also have another article on your Medium account talking about stop losses. Just kind of touch on the importance of those and how you personally use them.
Yeah, man. So a lot of day traders use stop losses. I think if you're day trading, you probably need to use them. I don't really know enough about day trading to comment, but I know a lot of day traders use stop losses. I don't really use stop losses, to be honest with you. If I buy a coin, it's usually, especially in like the last month, it's usually because it's near the bottom of its trend. And if it goes down 5 or 10 or 15%, I could really give a fuck. It doesn't matter to me. Just because I know based upon the trend patterns that it's going to go up way more than it's going to go down. Also, whales manipulate the price a lot. Whales, for those of you that don't know, are people with lots and lots of money. So some whales like cause the price to dump just because you have stop losses set. So they'll dump the price real quick, and then all your stop losses trigger, and they buy all of your stop losses, pretty much shaking you out of your position and causing you to lose your position, and then the price will start to go up. So yeah, I don't really use stop losses just because my trades are also longer time spans. So if it goes down 5 or 10%, 20% in a week time span, I've got enough faith in the coin that it's going to go up an even more significant amount in the near future, and I don't worry about it. Yeah, that's kind of my position on stop losses.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've actually kind of started to apply a similar strategy where I'm looking for more gems that are kind of bottomed out and seeing accumulation, and then that's when I'm really, buying those. So I haven't really been using stop losses either. And it's something I'm kind of not sure whether I want to implement or not, but I've been doing well so far. So
stop losses are good if you're already in profit. That's like the one time I'll actually use a stop loss is if I'm like significantly in profit on a coin, and I just want to like say I'm up 60%, I'll put a stop loss at 50% profit. So if the coin keeps going, then that's great, and I won't have to worry about it. But if it starts to drop, then I've already 100% secured my 50% profit. And I won't ever miss out on the 50%. But if that 60% goes to 160%, at least I didn't sell at 60%, if that makes sense.
So kind of talk about how you practice risk management. I know we just kind of touched on stop losses. Is there anything else you try to focus on?
Yeah, it's just understanding the risk reward of a scenario. I pick coins that I feel like comfortable in. Like I don't pick coins that, like if I'm questioning a decision that I'm making around a coin, whether it's a good coin to go into or not, then I usually don't go into it. Like every coin that I enter, I'm like almost like at least 90% confident, like 95% confident that I'm going to make money off the coin. just because I guess I'm good at like for my own scenario and my own personal experience in life. I'm good at being able to like mitigate the risk and understand the risk reward scenario. So I like to pick. And also it depends on the person, because I was talking with someone at an event the other night, and he was like, "Man, you like to play really, really risky. Like you like to play high risk, high reward." To me, like I'm not like in my sense, like my mindset. I don't think I'm playing like that risky. I think I'm playing like pretty like not conservative, but like also not like high risk. So yeah, getting back to the question, I think it just depends upon your risk tolerance, as well as um, when you look at a coin, like you got to like know whether it's a risky decision to get into it, or and what the risk reward is. Like most people are buying these candles that are just all the way at the top of the pump, and it makes no sense at all. There's very, very, very little reward if you're buying a coin that's pumped 100% in the last hour, and there's very, very, very high risk that you're going to lose a majority of your funds. But there's low risk and high reward if you're buying a coin that is down 5x in the last month and is forming a giant cup and handle pattern. So yeah, that's kind of my strategy behind it, man.
So, kind of touch on how your portfolio is currently structured, whether you have a lot of altcoins or kind of more focusing on a limited number. What's your portfolio like?
I've got like 5 or 10 altcoins. Let me see. I think it's like maybe, I think 10 to 12, maybe exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I got 9 altcoins and one ICO. My portfolio just went up even more. Look at that. Yeah, I got 9 altcoins and one ICO. So I'm most of my portfolio. I mean, I don't have any Bitcoin. I have a little bit of Ethereum just on the side because I'm prepping for some ICOs, and I'm in New York right now, so I might sell some to go have some fun, eat some good food. But yeah, most of my coins are in altcoins right now. I think that's kind of the cycle of the market we're in. I'll probably liquidate some for some ICOs pretty soon, because there's some really, really bomb ICOs coming up that I'm super bullish on. But besides that, just learning to mitigate the risk in that scenario is huge, as well as being able to see the risk reward. Some people are stuck in 50 different altcoins or 100 different altcoins, but they have like 1% or 2% of their portfolio in each coin, and some even less. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. If I like a coin and I trust it and I think it's going to do really well, I'll put a good percentage of my portfolio into a coin, solely on the fact that, like, if it moves 10%, I like to see there be a decent increase in my portfolio. I don't like to wait for coins to go 200% for them to be actually making a dent in my portfolio, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, what's your personal strategy on taking profits? And then are you moving to Ethereum or Bitcoin or maybe even fiat?
So right now, with the market cycle we're in, my strategy is taking profits on the way up on coins that I'm not like super, super bullish on. For other coins, for example, like OCN, I have targets for OCN Odyssey above 800 Satoshis. That's when I'll start to take profits out. But yeah, I usually take like 10, 20, 30%, sometimes 50% profits on a coin, just depending on where it is, and just depending upon where we are on the market cycle. Right now, all my profits are taken into Bitcoin. Ethereum if I need an ICO, but all my profits are normally taken into Bitcoin. And yeah, I plan on taking profits into fiat, hopefully when Bitcoin gets around 25 to 35K.
Okay. So, what are some coins right now that you would maybe consider a gem that maybe doesn't have a lot of hype on Twitter and that sort of stuff?
Man, my favorite project right now, and some people are starting to talk about it because I think it's up like 40% today, but my favorite project's Origin Trail. And this is like this is one coin. Like most of my decisions decisions are 100% based upon investments. Like, is this a good investment? Will I make money on this investment? That's usually where my decision making comes in. But Origin Trail is like the one coin that I'm just really bullish on, no matter what the investment's doing, finance wise. It's the one coin that I really believe in the fundamentals of, like, beyond anything else in the blockchain space right now. And Origin Trail, for those of you that don't know, is track, TRAC, or trace, TRAC is the symbol. It's a supply chain project, and they've got a working product. They have customers already, and pretty much the supply chain product that can help manufacturers trace and consumers trace the ingredients of their product through all the different cycles that it goes through in order for it to get to a store. And I think that I'm really bullish on it because I think that's how we integrate blockchain technology into the real world. At least that's the first step to it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I actually interviewed Desiree Dickerson a couple weeks ago, and the first thing she mentioned when blockchain being applied to the real world was actually supply chains. So that definitely sounds like a really good project.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
So, if you had to hold one coin for the next 10 years, would it be Track? Would it be Bitcoin? What would it be?
Um, Probably just Bitcoin, to be honest with you. I mean, Origin Trail, definitely, I'm a huge fan of Origin Trail. I think it'll do fantastic. But if I'm just going to hold a coin for 10 years, I might as well just hold Bitcoin.
Okay. So, you're currently in New York. Kind of touch on what that experience has been like for you.
It's pretty cool, man. There's some cool people out here. I'm going to Consensus 2018. Blockchain Week starts, I think, the beginning of next week, or maybe even like around today. Pretty much it's a full week or so with blockchain events happening all over the place. People from all over the world are coming around the space to talk about blockchain, to talk about cryptocurrency, and yeah, it's a badass space and a badass event. I'm really stoked on it. I'm really stoked to meet some cool people, and so far it's been good, man. I've had some fucking real good food and had a really good time.
Yeah, the food in New York is amazing. That's for sure.
It's,
So you have tons of content on different platforms. You've got Medium, Twitter, YouTube. What is your favorite form of content and why?
good question. I love Twitter mostly because I can just interact with people a lot. I like interacting with. I mean, for the most part, I like interacting with people on Twitter. Some people just are dumb, but yeah, I like interacting with people. I like chatting with people. I like being able to have conversations. I think the most fun one actually is Periscope. So I do live streams on Periscope, where it's a live stream video where people can ask questions or talk. I think that's my favorite form of communication. Uh, Mostly because it's live and it's interactive, and I can interact with people and have a good time. Um, yeah, that's kind of my top one.
All right. So what are some things outside of crypto that you really enjoy? Maybe a hobby or a sport, something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, exercise and taking care of myself is super important. Probably one of the most important things, even above crypto and everything. Family is super important. I spend a lot of time with my family because that's just one of the most important things in life to me. Um, in terms of activities, going out in nature, I love going on hikes. I love being out in nature. It's really one of my favorite things to do. Go camping, things like that. Uh, I golf, so I spent some time on the golf course and had fun golfing. Um, and yeah, that's a large majority of it. Eating food is one of my favorite things. I love good food. It's A good steak is one of the best things ever. And and yeah, it's pretty much the majority of my life is spent eating food and doing crypto.
So where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? Do you want to be retired from crypto? Do you still want to be making content? Kind of touch on that.
Man, I have no idea where I want to be in 5 or 10 years. It's a great question. I don't even know where I want to be tomorrow. Um, I like doing it day to day. I like building and creating things. I'm always going to be creating things. I don't believe in retirement or I don't believe in that concept at all. I'm always going to be creating things in one way, shape, or form. It may not always be in the cryptocurrency space. I may evolve into other spaces as well. If I find something that kind of pulls at me and inspires me as much as cryptocurrency does. But as of right now, it's cryptocurrency, and that's where all my time and energy is being spent, and I dig it.
All right, man. Well, that's all the questions I have lined up for you. So I'll kind of let you touch on your closing thoughts and wrap things up.
Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, guys, just as always, it's your boy Shill Nye, and just stay focused, take care of yourself, don't make stupid decisions, don't chase pumps, don't let the fear control you or lead your decision making. And yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on here. Thanks.
That's all for the interview. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned something from Shill Nye. He's been putting out a ton of great content and really helping out the crypto space. As always, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to support the podcast, and I'll catch you next week.